In this class, we'll be using an optional handheld dumbbell, light to medium weight. I have 2 blocks and a yoga strap. If you don't have a yoga strap and you do have a resistance band, that is also an option. And in tonight's class, we are going to be focusing on internal and external rotation of your shoulders. If you don't know what that is by the end of the class, hopefully you will. We are going to start in a seated position. If sitting on the ground makes you slump over in your spine, you might want to prop yourself up on a blanket. I didn't mention that, but a blanket is always nice to sit on, but also for the knees when we get to the knee portion. You can also sit on a block. So we're going to start first finding a neutral spine. So close your eyes and tune into your pelvis and just start to rock your pelvis forward and backwards. So tilting your little bony sticky out points at the front of your hips towards your thighs, and then pull them away from your thighs, and just notice how your pelvis rocks front to back. And as you're rocking front to back, you might feel wherever you're sitting on the ground or your blanket or your block, these 2 bony points at the bottom of your pelvis. These are your sit bones. And as you rock forward and back, you can kind of feel how you rock to the front and the back of them. And we're going to eventually find our way to sit right on the tip. And as you come into this position, again, if it's hard to sit right on the tips, you might have some tightness in your hamstrings or your lower back. So propping yourself up to find that neutral spine is going to be helpful. So if you can't feel like you can sit on the tips, please take the time to sit a little higher. And then drop your fingertips to touch the floor. And so tenting your hands up. Hands are right in line with the sides of your hips. And we're going to explore internal and external rotation in our shoulders from this position. So in this current position, fingertips kind of propped up, we're more in that neutral position. So our shoulder joint, where that ball and socket joint is of the shoulder, is right in the middle of the shoulder joint. If you were to turn your palms up so that the fingernails tap on the floor, we're now moving in external rotation. So you can feel the arm bones kind of start to roll up, the biceps facing the sky. And then if you were to do the opposite, roll the thumb forward, down, and to face the back so that now the fingernails tap the floor in the opposite direction. Pinkies facing kind of the front edge of your mat. You'll feel internal rotation. So let's just explore those 2 things kind of on your own. So rotating thumb forward, up, back. Thumbs point towards the back wall. Palm faces up, fingernails tap, and then go the opposite way. And in both of these directions, the thumb actually does point back, but you can feel it's rotating in the shoulder joint. So just explore that a few times. And as you're rotating the bicep forward, down, and in, internal rotation, notice shoulder, shoulder, what you feel, and then bicep up and back. External rotation. Notice any differences you feel shoulder to shoulder. And that's pretty typical. So don't worry too much if you do feel a big difference. Just notice it. Okay. Bring the arms out in front. So palms facing up, thumbs turning out. As you reach your arms over your head, feel the palms face the wall behind you. Bring the arms down. And flip the palms the opposite way. So turn the palms down and continue to turn so that now the backs of your hands face each other, and lift the arms up. Good. So alternating between these two things. As you bring the arms over your head with the pinkies facing the back wall, that's internal rotation. And as you bring the arms up with the palms facing the back wall, that's external rotation. So just notice again these two movements, what they feel like shoulder to shoulder. Maybe you notice one feels a little bit more open or able to move better. Good. So that's exploring internal rotation and external rotation in flexion, bringing the arms up over the head. Bring the arms back down to the side and then bring them out in line with your shoulders. So let's just start to turn the wrists. So can you turn the palms down and back? And then up, down and back. And try to limit that movement just to your wrist. So the shoulders are staying pretty still. And then can you bring it up a little further? So can you bring your elbow into it, but still not letting your shoulders move? And oftentimes when we lack internal and external rotation, this is kind of what we do. And give it a break. We're now going to bring this into the shoulders, but we're going to take one in internal rotation and one in external rotation. So start with the arms back out to the side. We're going to start with our right palm facing up. Start to turn your left thumb down towards the ground, palm faces the back wall. And then do the opposite with the other. So palms facing up, try to turn your pinky to face the back wall. And then switch. Can you now feel one shoulder roll forward as the other shoulder rolls back? And again, we're doing this more or less for a test, noticing where we feel resistance, where we feel ease. Maybe one shoulder moves a little bit easier than the other. That's very typical. But do you feel now the movement's coming from the shoulder joint rather than the wrist or the elbow? So kind of keep in mind what you're feeling as we move through the class. We'll return to some of these similar movements later on in the class to see if we have created more space. So we are going to start now lying on our backs. And you will want to clear space on the sides of your mat, because we're going to be creating great big circles with our shoulders. One of the blocks you want to have for your head, and the other block you want to have for your knee. And we'll start lying on our left side. So bring your head onto one of the blocks and place your right knee on the block. And you can switch the side, the height of your block. You just want the knee to be able to kind of rest still. Stretch the left arm out in front of you. And then reach your right fingertips forward of your left fingertips. We're going to start to create a semicircle by dragging just the fingertips on the floor. So we will trace that semicircle, perhaps getting a little bit bigger each time. So the fingertips drag on the floor, stay on the floor. The elbow can bend. And you can start to roll your chest open towards the sky as you bring the arm over your head. And see if you can keep your fingertips attached to the floor the whole time. And if you're able to start to create so much space that you can eventually Bend your elbow, flip the palm up towards the sky, bend the elbow like a cactus and bring it behind your back. And I'm going to roll over so you can see what this looks like from the back side. When I get behind my back, I cactus and reach my elbow towards my hip. And then coming in front. And we're easing into this. So letting the elbow bend as we bring the arm, palm facing up. So we're going into that external rotation behind our back. We're also priming the shoulder blades to allow for more of this rotation. And as that starts to open up, maybe you try it with a straight arm, palm facing up, fingernails brushing on the floor. As you come over your head, you flip the palm back down, fingernails brush or fingertips brush on the floor. So you should feel that this becomes kind of a natural movement. Don't worry so much about doing it the right way. Just worry about creating more space in the shoulder. If you overthink it, sometimes it makes it harder, not easier. And then as that opens up, you can start to create one large circle. So as the hand is out in front of you, the fingertips are on the floor. As the hand is behind you, the fingernails, palm up, is on the floor. The palm flips as it comes to your hip and slides down the front of your thigh. And let's make 3 more circles in this direction. Allowing the spine to move. The knee continues to stay connected to the block. So we're opening up the spine, which can be connected to shoulder. And then switch directions. So palm faces down as you bring it in front of you. You bring it up your knee. Allow the palm to flip up as you take it behind you. And then trace that circle over your head. And we'll do 4 more circles in this direction. So we're going to grab the block that's underneath our right knee, and we're going to roll onto our backs. Take the block and place it on the palm of your hand. Ideally, you want to rest it on the palm without gripping it with the finger and the thumb, but if you feel you need to grip it with the finger and the thumb, that's fine. Keep your right knee bent and your left leg long to the ground. Tuck your right wrist directly over your right shoulder. And then we're going to explore internal and external rotation here. So just start to feel how much you can roll the entire arm. So as you take the fingertips away from the head, turn it out and down. Maybe they point all the way toward your knee. And as you go the opposite way, we're going into internal rotation. I only can point directly out to the side. I can't roll to where I point to my knee again. Some people may be able to. But we want to keep the wrist stacked directly over our right shoulder the whole time. And notice if you're moving just your wrist, just your elbow, can you feel that rotation all the way in the shoulder joint? So really testing how far you can turn your whole arm. Bring the left arm out to the side. Bring your right knee towards your right shoulder. And we're going to roll onto our left side completely. So use the block to prop your head up. Shoulder stays above your wrist, and try it in this position. You might find that you're able to get a little bit more of that internal rotation, maybe pointing the fingers more towards the knee than straight out to the side. And notice what's happening to your shoulder blade. So frequently we're told to keep our shoulder blades squeezed down our back and towards our spine. But if you are really getting full rotation, you're going to feel that the shoulder blade actually rises as you go into that internal rotation. That's the natural rhythm. And as you go into external rotation, you're going to feel the tip of your shoulder blade kind of glide down your back. So just kind of notice that and let it happen. Good. Bring it so the fingertips are pointing over your head, so towards the top edge of your mat. Move the block out from underneath your head. And we're going to roll onto our backs and then roll back onto our side. And I am looking up at my block the whole time. And basically, the block's just getting closer to the ceiling as I roll onto my left side. But as I roll onto my back, it doesn't move other than it gets further away from the ceiling. So you can kind of feel your rib cage rolling into your shoulder blade and then out of your shoulder blade. The next time you roll onto your side, we're going to roll all the way. So bring your elbow down, take your block, place it on the ground, and move the blocks off towards the top of your mat and out of your way because we're going to use this space here. So we're going to roll onto our belly. You can stack your forehead on your left fist and bring the right arm right beside your right ear. Palm presses down into the ground. You're going to push the palm down and then slide the palm back as you lift your chest out of your hand. And then push the hand forward as you take the forehead back down. So sometimes it's hard to glide. So maybe a blanket underneath your hand or a glider, or you can just kind of drag it forward and back. So this is more or less in that neutral position. Bring the forehead back down to your hand and turn your thumb up towards the sky and press the outer pinky edge of your hand down into the ground. So now we're exploring this in external rotation. So press the pinky edge into the hand, push and lift the chest off the floor. Keep pushing the hand into the ground as you glide the hand forward and back as you lift your chest away and then towards the floor. So you're consciously trying to push the hand down to create stability in your shoulder. So we're not just sliding, we're actually pushing the hand down as we glide it forward and back. Good. Rest the forehead on the hand again, make a fist, and now turn the fingernails, or turn the fingernails down towards the floor, and then come onto your thumb edge with the fingernails facing out. So it's basically the opposite of what we just did, and you'll feel that internal rotation in your shoulder. So start to press the thumb fist, so right here, with your arm rolled in like this, down into the ground, and we're going to explore that same thing. So push it down as you lift your head and chest off of your hands and then down. So we're still actively pushing the fist into the ground. Couple more times. Good. Take a break and let your arm come to rest by your right side and allow your right shoulder to just fall towards the ground. And take the back of your right hand, place it in your lower back. Lift your elbow as far away from the floor as you can. Pretend that you have wings. You're kind of opening your wings wide as you take your elbow towards the sky. Let the shoulder come away from the floor. And then bring the elbow as close to the ground as possible. Lift the head of the shoulder. The head of the shoulder is this part right here. So you're lifting it away from the ground. And then you're allowing it to move towards the ground. So exploring a bit of internal rotation back here. Lift the elbow as far away from the floor. Lift the head of the shoulder away from the floor. Can you lift your right hand off your lower back? Can you keep the hand lifted off the lower back as you straighten the arm out to the side? Back of the hand is facing the ground. Now turn the thumb up, facing in the direction of your head, and then up towards the sky. Hi, Rush, you need to move. I gotta move. Bring the arm up beside your ear. Thumb is still pointing up, and then bend your elbow, maybe touching the back of your right shoulder blade. Lift the elbow high. Take the elbow out to the side. Straighten the arm out to the side. Turn the thumb to point down towards the ground, and then palm faces up. Bring it behind your lower back again. Maybe it touches your lower back. Maybe you're able to keep it off the lower back. Hint, hint, lift the shoulder, head of the shoulder away from the floor. Straighten the arm out to the side. This is the last time we're going to do this. So right now the back of the hand is on facing the floor. Then we're going to turn the thumb pointing up towards the head and then all the way up. So rotating into external rotation. Bring the arm beside the ear and then bend the elbow to touch your right shoulder blade. Lift the elbow higher. Good. Release the hand to the ground. Shift the hips side to side, so releasing any tension you feel in your lower back. Bend your right knee. Bring your right hand underneath your shoulder. Lift your right leg and roll onto your back again. So we'll repeat this all on the other side. I'm going to shift to the other end of my mat so that you can see me. So prop your head back on your block. Bring the other block out in front of your mat. We're now resting our right ear on the block and our left knee on the block out in front of us. If you have anything above your mat, clear it. So we're going to take left fingertips out in front of right fingertips. We're going to start with that small semicircle. Brushing the fingertips on the floor as you trace it over your head, allowing your elbow to bend as you bring it over your head. And just starting to notice how the shoulder feels in that small semicircle. And then you can start to bring the elbow, bending it into that cactus, flipping the palm up to start to broaden that semicircle. And continue with that rotation a few times. And you may notice a difference side to side, not only on the shoulder, but also perhaps the spine and the rib cage. Anytime the hand is out in front of you, palm faces down. Anytime it's behind you, palm faces up. You might explore what it feels like to straighten the arm behind you. And then as you're able to, start to make those full circles. So as the palm comes up on your hip, palm faces down, fingertips brush as it goes over your head, palms face up, fingernails brush until you get to your hip. And do a few more in this direction. And then the next time it comes out in front of you, switch directions. And I definitely feel a difference shoulder to shoulder, spine to spine as I create these circles. It was so much easier on my other side. When my arm is behind me, there's definitely a period where my fingernails can no longer stay on the ground. As I continue this, it gets a little closer, but hand connecting to the ground the whole time is not necessarily the goal. Good. So we're going to come now onto our back. Take the block and place it in the palm of your left hand, straight above your shoulder. Left knee stays bent, right leg straight into the ground. And we're going to explore that rotation now in our shoulder. Trying to keep the block or the wrist directly above your shoulder the whole time. I also notice in the shoulder a really hard time keeping it, like it'll veer out of path for a portion of this. So I'm just trying to smooth it out, not forcing it. But more than anything, I'm trying to keep my wrist stacked over my shoulder to keep myself honest so I can actually start to increase that ability for rotation in the shoulder joint. Good. Keep the fingers now facing over your head. Lift your left foot off the ground. They're going to roll onto your right side by taking the knee down to the floor. So shoulder stacked underneath your wrist. Try internal and external rotation for this position. And notice when your forearm starts to drift. Also notice, are you actually rotating the shoulder joint or are you just rotating your forearm? Notice what happens to the shoulder blade as you test this movement. Good. Remove the block from underneath your head as you roll back onto your back. And now we're going to keep the wrist over our shoulder as we press onto our side. Left knee comes out in front of us and roll onto our back. So we explored a similar thing last week with our hip. Our shoulders kind of do the same, similar movement. So as we roll onto our side, the block doesn't move out of, it stays stacked over our shoulder. It just moves closer to the ceiling. And as we roll onto our back, it moves closer towards the floor. The next time you roll onto your side, bend your elbow and take the block out of the way. Since we're going to need that space, and roll onto your belly. Stack your forehead on your right hand. So first we're going to take the arm along beside our ear. Palm faces down. And if it's too much to have the arm right by the ear, you can take it out to the side about 45 degrees. You're still going to be able to kind of explore these ranges of motion. Press your feet into the floor and start to imagine you could peel your lower belly off the floor. We're going to press the palm into the ground, lift the head and chest off the ground, and then press it forward. My hand does not slide well on the ground in this neutral position. Good, one more time. And then we'll explore external rotation. So pinky edge of your hand is on the ground. Your thumb is pointing straight up towards the sky and your palm is facing in towards the midline, so where your head is. Press the outer edge of your hand down as you glide forward and back. So the more you press down, you're creating stability on the shoulder. So you're actively engaging the muscles that stabilize your shoulder as you lift your head and chest away from the floor. and forward. Good. And we'll go into internal rotation. So make a fist and then turn your bicep closer to your ear. Your fingernails face out away from your head, and the thumb side of your hand is going to press down into the floor. So now we're in that internal rotation preference as we lift head and chest away from the floor and glide it forward. So we're intentionally working the spine, the upper spine, the thoracic spine in extension. Because a lot of times, some of the things that constrict good shoulder movement is a lack of mobility in your thoracic spine. So this is kind of intentional. Good. Take a break. Let the arm come down beside your body. And just take a few breaths here, shaking out your low back side to side. And then bring the back of your left hand to rest in your lower back. So your palm is facing up. Thumb is pointing up toward your shoulder blades. And the first thing we're going to do is lift the head of the shoulder away from the floor. So like you're flapping your wings, you'll feel your shoulder blade get closer to your spine. And then feel the elbow move down towards the floor. It may or may not touch the floor, but you're just going to explore this movement, flapping your left little wing. And the next time you flap your wing open, so head of the shoulder away from the floor, can you lift your left hand out of your low back? Keep the back of the hand facing the ground as you straighten your arm out to the side. Keep the head of the shoulder moving away from the floor. Turn the thumb to point down towards the ground, then up towards your head, and then up towards the sky. So external rotation, bring the arm beside your ear. Bend your elbow and touch your left shoulder blade if you can. Straighten the arm beside your ear. Take it out to the side, thumb still pointing up towards the sky. Turn it down towards the floor, and then turn the palm up, thumb pointing down towards your feet. Bring it behind your back. Maybe keeping it hovering above your spine, head of the shoulder away from the floor. And straighten the arm out to the side. Turn the thumb down, up, and then up towards the sky. Arm beside the ear. Hand to your right shoulder blade, lift your elbow higher. Release that. Shake out your hips side to side. And then bend your left knee, pointing the toes up towards the sky. Left hand underneath your shoulder. You're going to roll back onto your back. Bring your right hand to your right shoulder. Left hand hugs in front. Going to give yourself a hug. And rock your upper back side to side. Take your right arm straight and then bring it, stack it on top of your left, and same thing, rock side to side. Okay. Roll to either side and come to hands and knees. So some of that shoulder motion being as close to the floor as we were is probably going to be some of the most challenging shoulder movements. But I also feel like it keeps our shoulders honest, being closer to the floor. We don't have a lot of room to move our spine or our shoulder blades, so it kind of helps to really train that movement. So come to hands and knees, push the floor away. Bring your shoulders up towards your ears and then shoulders down. So kind of allowing your shoulder blades to glide up and down. And then tuck your toes under, lift your hips high, keep your knees bent, and bring your shoulders up towards your ears and down your spine. Good. Come back to your knees. We're going to come to sit. And you can take a block. This is also an option for your weight. So I'll show this both ways. We're going to bend our right knee and rest your right elbow on your right knee. You can hold your block or you can hold a weight. So head of the shoulder kind of stays in that neutral position. We're going to test internal and external rotation with the elbow resting on the knee. I have my hand out here in front so I can feel I want to resist this. So keeping the head of the shoulder kind of in line with your collarbone and with the block. It just looks like this. So feeling that isolated movement of internal and external rotation in your shoulder joint. Good. Switch to the other side. Whatever you chose on your first side, use the same thing on this side and test that internal and external rotation. We're doing between 8 to 10. Trying to keep the spine nice and long. And just allowing that slight loaded rotation in the shoulder joint. Good. Release the weight. And we'll come back to the weight. Take your yoga strap or your resistance band. And you can be seated on your knees. You can also be seated in a chair. You can also go to that regular, just cross-legged position. Take your band wide. So hands are wider than shoulder distance apart. We're pulling the band tight. So whether it be a band that stays stable or whether it be that resistance band. If you're using the one that doesn't move, you may find that you need to take your hands wider as we create more rotation. So start with your hands down, band on your top of your thighs. Bring your arms over your head and pull the band apart. And bring it back down. So with the palms facing forward, knuckles facing backwards, we're kind of more or less in that neutral position in the shoulders. We're going to start to tease the arms back a little further, taking it more into that external rotation. And the next time you bring it over, bend your elbows, cactus your arms, take the band behind your head or behind your back. Bring it up. And we'll do 3 or 4 rounds like this. And you'll feel more of that external rotation as you take the elbows down and back. And then if that's feeling pretty easy, you don't feel a lot of clunkiness in the shoulder, you may try to take it all the way up and back with the elbow straight. And this is where you may have to crawl your hands further apart. So just try that a few times. And if you can't do it with the elbow straight, you can continue that cactus. And bring the arms up. Release the belt. And come to rest on your right elbow. So we're going to start with the forearm out 90 degrees. Keep the head of the shoulder from dumping forward, so stack it over your right elbow. and lift your hips and bring your hand behind your head. Start to twist your chest towards your right forearm and then open back up. Twist your chest toward your right forearm, open back up. 3 more times. Good. Release the hips to the ground and come back to a seated position. So again, you can either be on your knees or you can be in a seated position. I like to be on my knees because it allows me to feel like I get my spine a little bit more in neutral rather than that slump position. So we're going to take the block between our hands like so. Elbows are right beside your rib cage. So the first thing we're going to do is just take the block in front of your face, a little higher than your face, but keep your elbows 90-degree bent and right in line with your shoulder. So this is the first step of a halo. So just kind of feel that motion, bringing the elbows straight up in front of your shoulders and then down beside your ribs. The next time you bring it up, we're going to take the right elbow back down as the left elbow kind of comes right in line with your forehead. Bring both elbows up and down. So we're going to practice that same movement a few times. The right elbow dips right back down in line with the rib cage. Left elbow, forearm comes in line with your forehead. Bring it down. Good. Bring it up. Tilt. Both elbows meet. Bring them down. Bring it up. Tilt. Elbows meet. Bring it down. Good. We're going to add on. So bring it up. Tilt. Use your right hand to push the block back. And you'll feel that automatically takes your left forearm behind your head. Bring it down. Elbows meet. Bring them back to ribs. Bring it up. Tilt. Push back with your right hand. Bring it down. Elbows meet. And bring it back. Try that one more time. Bring it up. Tilt. Right hand pushes back. Elbow comes back down. Elbows meet. And bring it in. We're going to take a break and go now to our other side. So left elbow comes down to the ground, forearms straight out from your elbow, palm on the ground, stack your left elbow directly, or left shoulder directly over your elbow. Press the knees and shins down, lift the hips. Right hand comes behind your head. You're going to rotate your chest towards your left forearm and then rotate open. Rotate forward. As you do this, can you keep your shoulder stacked directly over your elbow instead of letting it pop forward as you rotate open? So as you rotate open, try to keep the elbow directly under your shoulder. Open up and come down. Now we're going to do that block thing with our other shoulder. So either sitting in a cross-legged position, in a chair, or on a block, in a kneeling position, bring the block back between your hands. Press the hands into the block, keep your elbows shoulder height, and just take them down and take them up. So we're not pushing the elbows out to the side. We're trying to keep them close to the body as we glide forward, elbow to shoulder height, and then back down. Good. That second move, when you bring it out, you're going to flip your right forearm in line with your forehead, and you'll automatically feel your left elbow draw down. Bring the elbows back to shoulder height and bring it in. Bring it up. Tilt. Elbows meet and bring it down. Try that a few more times. Just start to feel the rhythm. This is going somewhere, I promise. Just want to get to where you feel that you can keep your elbows kind of in that narrow position. As you come into that second position, so forearm in line with your forehead, left elbow down, you're going to push with your left hand straight up, elbow points forward. Good. Bring it down and in, up, tilt, push back, down, in. Good. Few more times, just try to get that rhythm. And you can probably already feel your shoulders. Good. Release that. Come to hands and knees. So last time I took the shoulders up and down, can you make circles? And if you can't, just pretend. We're not going to focus too much on it. But I'm basically rolling my heads of my shoulders up, squeezing my shoulders in, down, forward, and then try the opposite direction. Good. Tuck the toes under. Lift the hips up and back, knees stay bent. Can you try it in the same? A few circles in both directions. And if you can't worry, just hold steady in down dog. It's still great for the shoulders. Good. Bring your right foot up to meet your right thumb. We're going to come into a half kneeling position. And we're going to grab the block. We're going to do what we just did, but now we're going to take it into a full circle. So take the elbows in line with your shoulders. We're going to go towards the right first, so the right knee's bent. So we're going to go like this, push back, then take the elbows up towards the sky and go through that full circle. So this is called a halo. But what I so often see is that elbows go out like this. Which is fine, but it doesn't get that full rotation in the shoulders. So can you take that movement that we just did and see if you can create that full circle? Good. Take a break. Bring your block inside of your right foot. Twist, reaching your right arm up. And then thread the needle, reach your right arm under your left arm. Open up, reach the arm up towards the sky. Twist, reach the arm underneath your left arm. And do this a few more times. As you're doing that, press your left palm strong into the block to keep that shoulder kind of connected to your rib cage so that you're getting rotation and that left shoulder as you rotate your spine. Two more times. Good. Reach the right arm up. Bring both hands to frame your right foot. Sweep the right leg beside your left leg. Tuck your toes under and come back into downward facing dog or knees bent bear position. Shift your shoulders forward to plank. Legs can straighten, bend the knees, shift back to bear, downward facing dog. The difference between bear and downward facing dog is knees bend in bear. Knees are moving more towards straight in down dog. And you're shifting between plank and down dog. Bring your left foot to meet your left thumb. And bring the block between your hands. So we'll go the opposite direction. So elbows shoulder height. We're going to tilt right forearm towards the sky. And then push with your left arm, take it behind your head, and bring it back through. So sometimes we can think of just making a halo around our head with the block. Again, what we are looking for is to try to keep our elbows narrow. Not that the other is bad or wrong, it just doesn't give us that access to full rotation that keeping the elbows narrow does. Good. The next time you come down, bring your block inside of your left foot. Right hand on the block, push yourself away from the block. So we're not collapsing in, we're trying to breathe away. So stable in the shoulder. Twist, reach your left hand up, stretch your chest towards your left thumb, and then twist. Reach it underneath your right shoulder. So explore that rotation in your, but also the rotation that's happening in your left shoulder. As you reach behind, it's going more towards that internal. As you open, it's going more into that external. Keep pushing the block away. So try not to just let go into that collapsed position on the left shoulder, because that's what we're really working here. It's stable position. Good. Reach the arm up. Plant both hands beside your left foot and step back into downward facing dog. So we're going to shift forward to plank, straight legs. Drop both of your heels off to the right, and then open into side plank. Lift your left hand towards the sky. Bring both hands to the ground. If this is too much on your wrist, you can come down onto your forearms. Drop both heels over to the left and rotate open onto the left shoulder. Good. You're going to rotate side to side, either on elbows or hands, 2 more times to each side. You can also come down onto your knees. Good. One more time to the left. And then bring both elbows or hands back. Walk the hips back and come into child's pose. Rest with your forehead on the ground. Sweep the hands out to the side and reach your fingers towards your toes, allowing the backs of your hands to rest on the floor and allow the heads of the shoulders to fall towards the floor. Maybe shifting side to side. And bring your hands underneath your shoulders, press up. So we're going to explore the halo a couple of times with a dumbbell. If you don't have a dumbbell, you can use your block again. And then we're also going to explore a overhead press-ish from a lunge position. But we're going to start with the weight in our left hand. Come up to tall kneeling and then step your right foot forward. Grab the block or the dumbbell on either end of your weight or block. We're going to go to the right 3 times. So steady your pelvis, find that rotation in the way that we've been doing. Try to keep everything everything still. So spine is still, pelvis is still. Okay. Bring it back into your left hand, hold it right at your shoulder. I'm going to turn this way so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to tuck your left toes under. You're going to start to tilt forward with your torso. We're going to come to stand by lifting the left knee and then stand to press. Bring the elbow back in front of your chest, step your left leg back, and go all the way back down onto your knee. tilt forward. As you come into that, as you lift the knee, you're going to punch and then step. So from the front, bring the hand back to your chest. Step the left leg back. You don't have to bring the knee all the way back down. You can just come halfway. Tilt forward, punch, and stand. Elbow comes to your chest, so keep the elbow in. Step back. Knee lunges. Tilt forward, punch to stand. Elbow to chest. Step the left leg back and slowly lower all the way back down. Bring the right knee to meet your left knee. Switch hands and step your left leg forward. Bend the elbow right in front of your rib cage. Bell's about in line with your shoulder. And then we're going to switch it into both of our hands. You're going to bring the forearm to meet the forehead. Push back. Create that halo 3 times towards the left. Everything staying really still. Pelvis, spine. You're just making that circle around your head with your block or your weight. Bring the bell back into your right hand. Head of the bell in line with your shoulder. Tilt forward. Tuck your right toes under. Lift the right knee off the ground. As you come to stand, punch it up. Bring the elbow back down. Step the foot back. You can either lower knee all the way to the ground or just halfway. Tilt forward. Push and stand. Elbow back down. Knee hovers above the floor. Tilt forward. Push to stand. Bicep beside the ear. Good. Elbow down. Last time. Bend the knee. So coming into that lunge. Tilt forward. Push the bicep beside the ear. Stand up. Elbow bends. Straight in line with your ribs. Step back. Slowly lower yourself down. Release the bell to the floor. You can either sit back on your heels. You can come to sit in a regular seated position on a block or on a blanket. Bring your right arm straight out in front. Cross it in front of your chest. Sweep your left arm underneath. Bring the fingertips into the palm of your hand and lift your shoulders high, elbows high. And start to fold forward. So let your spine round and stretch your fingertips forward. And stack your spine, bring your hands behind your back. Fingertips face your shoulders. Bend your knees, feet on the ground. Lift up. Lower the hips back down. Take your left elbow shoulder height, cross it in front of your chest. Sweep your right arm underneath, fingertips in the palm of your hand. Lift your elbows about shoulder height. And then maybe round forward. Stack your spine, sweep your hands behind your back. This time, fingers face away from your hips, so the external rotation. Toes point forward, lift your hips. Release your hips back down to the ground. Cross one shoulder in front, and give yourself a full stretch. And then switch. So coming back to test that motion that we experienced at the front of the class, sitting either on the floor on a blanket or a block, fingertips to the floor, and then turn the palms up, and then turn the palms up the opposite direction. So finding that internal, external rotation in that first position that we explored, Notice if you feel a little bit more smooth in that rotation. And then bring them out in front of you, palms up, palms face the wall behind you as you bring biceps to ears. And then switch. Pinkies face back, internal rotation. So just explore that movement a few times. And then the final one, the arms out to the side. One arm twist into external rotation as the other goes into internal rotation and go side to side. Feeling the entire arm move, not just your forearm or your wrist. And I definitely feel a little less clunky in my left shoulder. So good for me. Release your arms at your side. Give your shoulders a roll, both directions. And this concludes our exploration of internal and external rotation in your shoulders. Hopefully you felt some changes as you went through the class. If not, hopefully you at least know the difference between internal and external rotation and whether or not your body actually has been doing it. And some of you may find that that's a movement that you avoid by only rotating your lower arm. So maybe you found that if anything, you could actually find a little bit of internal and external rotation. So thanks so much. I'll see you next time.